Today, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington have done in writing, in an official pleading to the Internal Revenue Service, what I have been trying to do on this program. In a 17-page filing that contains a masterful history of how wrong the IRS has been for so long about this matter, they are asking the IRS to simply enforce the law as written by Congress and to drop the IRS false interpretation of that law. The pleading says it is critical that the IRS act now by promulgating new regulations that comport with the statutory requirement of 501c4 organizations to be operated exclusively for social welfare purposes. Joining me now, Melanie Sloan, Executive Director for Citizens for Responsibility in Ethics in Washington. Thank you, Melanie Sloan. I am not alone anymore on this issue. I love this document, your 17-page document I've been reading and underlining all day. And I've got to say, I've never seen anything like this in law. You know, in the legislative process, people fight for days, sometimes weeks, months over single words like exclusively. And someone got that word exclusively into the law, and then at the IRS, they just changed it to primarily, and they changed everything, didn't they?
They did, and it happened, as you said earlier, decades ago, starting in 1959, and the IRS has been well aware this has been a problem for decades. In the 60s, this was raised. In the 70s, it was raised, and there has always been this problem between the statutory language, which is what Congress passed, which says exclusively, and the regulation enacted by the IRS, which says primarily. And then the IRS has made matters all the worse by never defining primarily what a primary purpose is. Not that, by the way, organizations haven't walked well over whatever the primary purpose line could possibly be anyway. Many people view it as about 50%, but groups like the American Action Network have spent well over 60% of their budgets on political activities, clearly in violation of even the primary purpose test. So this has been a very long problem, and in fact, a crew and a plaintiff, a former congressional candidate, David Gill, sued the IRS over this failure to have a regulation that complies with the law as early as February. But it's been very hard to get any traction on this issue, to get people to talk about the issue of 501c4s until this scandal broke.
Well, Melanie, the great news is we just heard the guy who can fix this, the chairman of the Finance Committee on the Senate floor, who seems to get the point. And President Obama very clearly gets it. He kind of put it at the end of his statement today in a thing that all of the media will not understand. But he gets it, that there is a problem with the way the law is being administered. There's no problem in the way the law is written. The law is written beautifully.
That's right. And the IG, in the IG report, he too recognized that this was an issue, that IRS employees are really floundering. They don't know how to enforce the law. They don't know what the law is. They haven't, there's never been any clarity for them. And that's why we're in this state. And what really needs to happen is the IRS needs to go back and get rid of this regulation. And the IRS has been asked several times over the past couple of years to deal with this problem. And whenever asked, they just say, well, they're aware of the problem. But aware of the problem isn't doing something about the problem.
Melanie Sloan of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, a group that operates honorably as a 501c3. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.